Welcome to Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Nabuguzi Kiwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. Today's episode is a totally different approach, and it has never been kind of episode. In commemoration of the Mental Health Awareness Month, Onyango and I would like to make it more relatable how one's mental health status can affect emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. We relied on some subtle symptoms and signs and also brought forward some unhealthy environments that affect us unknowingly, how we cope adaptively and maladaptively, and finally, how all of us are a work in progress. The episode is a co-hosted one. He speaks, I speak. A Kenya-Uganda transborder kind of relatability. Onyango, welcome to Hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka.
For the second time, thank you very much. I feel very honored to be here.
Oh, yes. It actually had to be the third time. We just failed to make it for the second recording.
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't? Of course. You're a very busy man. So, I don't think we have to get into the conversations of who you are. If someone wants to know who you are, please go and look for the recording in, I think, July. I don't remember. I don't even remember the name.
August.
The name of the podcast is Humanize Yourself. At least I remember that.
Yeah.
So look out for that and get to know more about who Onyango is. Because we're not going to do that. We're just going to get into the conversation, and I think we should just say start.
Yeah.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month worldwide, I understand. And I'm happy that we are normalizing these conversations because, I don't know, it must have been during the lockdown when I started seeing more of the conversations on mental health. But it happened so fast because we had people talking about how it's not relevant, how it was such a trivial issue that we didn't have to make so big. But the lockdown happened and everything changed. We're having people talking about depression, anxiety, and so many other things that they were struggling with in that moment. So for this Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm going to have this conversation with Onyango Otieno. And for just a bit, you can talk about who you are for someone to have just an idea of the person on site.
Onyango is a trauma therapist and a poet, and he is also an Afro-masculinity activist. I'm very passionate about mental health and trauma healing and masculinity conversation.
Okay, and for our conversation, I would like for us to share, he and I, it's going to be more like a co-hosted episode. He talks about his experience about one of the things that I mentioned, and I also take on what I experienced in that particular thing. There are just going to be a few of what we look at as common things in our millennial times, for someone to really understand what it might be like for them to get the symptoms or of what it's like to suffer mentally. So the very first one, Onyango, I don't know, withdrawal from friends and activities. What have you experienced something of this kind?
I think I do, and it's a very complex thing as well because sometimes I immerse myself in people and sometimes I withdraw, or previously I have withdrawn or immersed myself into people. And the funny thing about withdrawal is the fact that you still do want support, but you don't want people around you, you know. And I think we're still getting to understand what that means and how to go about that, because as a person who has had to face a lot of his pain on his own and go through my own things, figure life on my own, it's not been easy to let people in, you know. and especially when you need support. So it's very easy for me to withdraw and just go and deal with my things alone, even when I really do need support. And yet I want people around me, but I can't sustain being there with them like that, you know. So yes, I have withdrawn. I have secluded myself from my friends, from people I love. And some of it also is still a response to trauma because of the violence in my family. I wanted, for example, to stay as far away as I could from them, and just be somewhere nobody could reach me easily unless they really, really want. You and so that fact is connected to my childhood and also what later became some of the ways I'd used to cope with stress or depressive episodes. So yes, I have withdrawn, and I think to some extent sometimes I still do. Only that I really try not to overdo it because I do have those days, I do have those moments like everybody else. I just try to tap back into where there is energy for me and either invite people over or I go to their homes because I now know it's not really healthy for me to continue staying alone or being isolated when I actually need to talk to someone. So, yeah, I don't know your experience, what it's like.
Personally, I don't know if I'm supposed to say withdraw as such, but growing up, I went into a school, boarding school that introduced us to something they called exuberance. Was it a club? It's a movement, I think. It's under the Catholic Church. And they taught us, I was in primary 6, but I think by that time I was already silent and figuring out what is the meaning of life. And in that moment, we were given, I think, three items, and they were in a particular order. They told us that for us to show love, I think, or whatever they called it, the first thing someone had to do was care for community, and the second in line is your neighbor, and then you come third. So I took that as the Bible. Like, I have to look out for anyone around me. Is this person withdrawn? Why are they quiet? How can I help? How do I make them feel part of it? Meanwhile, I'm the same person who is silent. I don't have friends really. And I turned myself into a savior, I think, so to speak. And I didn't know how to help myself. I knew how to be there for people, but I didn't know how to be there for myself. So when I was struggling, my pillows, so many of my tears, teenage and everything, it's very hard for someone to see me cry. I'm trying. I think I need to learn. I'm trying to learn how to show people that I cry because I have friends who find it really funny that I cry. But when I'm in a crisis, when I would experience a crisis, I would just withdraw from these people because it felt like they can't see me break because they rely on me for their strength. So I have to be present for them. I mean, the one moment that I really remember was when an exam was really hard and everyone was scared. I was also scared, but I didn't have to show. So I had to help them. Like, no, don't be scared. This and this is happening. And really, I never managed to work through my emotions. Yeah. So I would always withdraw.
Funny because that would still mean that you're still withdrawing your emotions, because you're not expressing them. You're not expressing this thing you're feeling to people around you to share it with them. You're there with them, but you've withdrawn in that regard. And it would really find like you'd laugh at the number of people who are in that kind of situation even today, who are often willing to help others, to show up for others like that, but they don't know how to let people in or be vulnerable before others. And of course, what what causes that is very different between people, because we all have very different experiences as to how we get there. But sometimes I often think like those guys who, and I've been that person as well, who like are very easy with quote unquote mothering others in that regard. Like sometimes they also wish people would show up for them like that. Um, and the funny thing is sometimes even when people want to show up for you like that, you don't know how to open the doors for them to enter. So it's interesting.
But have you managed to go past the withdrawal? You've talked about how you are attentive at what you're doing in times of crisis. How are you managing to come out of the person who withdraws to the person who opens up to people and letting them into your space?
I first open up to myself, and that's why like journaling is it for me. So when I put it down, actually, sorry, my journal is right here next to me. So it's very cute. That's why I just wanted to see it. Thanks. The reason, like opening, like putting out the thoughts on paper helps me break it down in a way that makes it look okay to talk about. And sometimes now, like even from there, now I can even share even publicly around something that really I've been struggling with something. But then I'm really lucky to have people around me I can talk to about things, even when I'm not yet sure how to bring them out for me. I'm lucky, and I don't do that all the time. To be honest, I can do better. If I'm to be vulnerable, I can do better with that. I think you see, for so long, being a firstborn in my home for so long, being somebody who had to take care of people around me, it became a system of life. It became a behavior. So unlearning it is also taking years, right?
Yeah.
And I today actually in this form that I am right now in this moment, because actually even like the last time we were recording the 39th episode, which is where when you hosted me, and now I'm a very different person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like seeing your eyes lighting up. I'm a very different person. My worldviews have changed. This way I see myself has really, really transformed. And today, in this moment, I want to live my life unashamedly. I express myself unashamedly. I am facing fears that I've packed in my system for years upon years, you see. And I can see how things are opening up on their own as a result of my authenticity, as a result of my courage. Things are opening up. It doesn't mean that I don't feel heavy things. I do, but now with a different perspective, with better tools, with better self-awareness now. And I feel freer and lighter at the same time. At the beginning of this year, I was nursing some crazy, crazy heartbreaks. And one of the mantras that I developed as a way to get myself through it was I told myself, anytime anybody asks me how I'm doing, I'll say I'm happy, healthy, and fantastic. Even today, somebody, because I had a radio interview this afternoon, and this presenter was like, "How are you, Onyango?" And I'm like, "I'm happy, healthy, and fantastic." And he didn't expect to hear that, because I think for some reason what we are used to, I'm okay, I'm fine, or I'm going through something. So it's almost like we never expect happiness from other people,
right.
And that's a very sad world, my friend. That's a very sad world. I don't want to be part of that. But what that has helped me do is trick my mind and my body to actually believing that I'm happy, to believing that I'm healthy, even through the hard times that are inevitably there. I'm like, this is going to pass. I'm going back to my equilibrium very soon. I'll be happy and I'll be healthy and I'll be fantastic. You see, and it's helped me appreciate myself better and be also more forgiving of me because I used to be so hard on myself even during. So now you see, now when I isolate myself, I go and beat myself down so bad, so bad, so bad. Beat myself down because there's nobody who to help me mirror myself that, you know what, you're actually doing okay. You're doing the best you could with the information you had. And right now it's just like, it's okay. It's going to be fine. You know, a small example yesterday. Oh my, sometimes I talk too much. I'm sorry. Yesterday.
This is how you open
yesterday,
yourself up.
Oh yes. So yesterday, these days I like talking. Yesterday, so I have this. I recently started this series on my Instagram stories, which also goes to Facebook stories, of sharing how my week was, and I particularly put it on Wednesdays and not Mondays. So for me, it's like my week begins on Wednesday when I'm starting to like share myself. So I take these little clips of my day to day, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, and just store them up to 7 days later, and I share them together. So yesterday, okay, today as we record this is a Thursday. I don't know when you put it up, but as we record this is Thursday. Yesterday was a Wednesday.
Next week. It's coming out next week on Wednesday.
Okay, cool. So on a day like that day you release it, I'll be putting up my IG stories to share my week. So yesterday, I wanted to start with giving a background story of why I do this sharing, you know. But then the funny thing is, my gallery for some reason could not play the videos. Like they were playing on Tuesday night at 1 a.m. before I slept. But then these videos just refused to play on Wednesday morning when I'm supposed to be sharing this stuff. I was like, what the hell? Why today? As in, these things were okay yesterday. What is happening?
Yeah.
You know? And so my gallery, I don't know, is this my phone getting old? I couldn't get it. And so like they were telling me I had to like download the image. So it was like downloading the file. So there are so many videos, 10, 15-second videos. There was no way I was going to wait for all of them. So thank God I still had access to because they go to Google Photos. So I just went there and I had to edit some of them again, which took longer time. But the funny thing is, I told myself, bruh, it's okay, all right? You know, this kind of things happen. It has never happened to me since I owned that phone. It has never happened. So I just kept wondering why on Wednesday, at the moment I'm supposed to be, why? Yeah. You know? But then I was like, if only 40 people see this, that's fine. You know, because as opposed to like when I share them immediately at once, there's a higher turnover, you know, of the audience. And I was like, it's okay. If only 40, if only 100, if only 400 see it, you know, because usually there's like a turnover of around 2,500 people, you know, watching the stories.
Yeah.
And of course, yes, the numbers were a little lower, but I still had, you know, conversations with people about the stuff I shared. And that was, to me, I was telling myself, that's the most important part. So don't beat yourself down so bad, right. You know? So gaining that skill has taken so much time because previously, like in another life, I'll be feeling so bad. I'll be feeling so bad. Like, why is it happening right now? You know, why? That feels so crazy. But then I even went for breakfast, you know, at my local restaurant over here. I had my sausages and samosas and food slowly with my tea. I came back and I was like, I'll share these things at my pace. You know what? It's a Wednesday. I'll have a good time. Mm-hmm. And so it's improving with time, and I'm only hoping to get better at it.
I pray that you do get better at it.
Yeah.
Last year I broke down in front of Amari. Amari is our mutual friend, and I had lost a friend. So she woke up And by the time she woke up, I had already woken up and I had already got the news of the friend that had died. So when she came out, I was like, you remember Patrick? And that was it. I couldn't say anything else. I just broke down and she held me. Now, when she was holding me, because I'm not in the system of being the receiver of comfort, it felt good. I relaxed and then I asked myself, okay, how long does this take? I think I've reached my time of expiry. I actually wanted to ask her, so how does this work? Do I still stay here in your arms or can I move?
What happened? Yeah.
But before then, I had met a therapist and, excuse me, I broke down in front of her when I was saying everything. I opened up and she was just nodding her head. She was letting me speak and I was like, this feels good. This feels right, you know? So I really hope that for someone who is struggling with withdrawal from friends and activities, that they get kinder to themselves and practice or find an opening where they let themselves out and express the emotions that they really feel. So our very second one is eating habits. Do your eating habits get affected when you're in a crisis or stressed out?
I highly doubt that, but my appetite for sure sometimes fluctuates. My appetite does fluctuate sometimes, and then sometimes I have a yearning for junk food, so I can do a lot of online like shopping for junk food. Stuff that just comes in the house, or I go to town and just spoil myself to a lot of fries and chicken. Yes, and I'm like, you know what? This thing is gonna bring back my joy as I just dissipate and dissect the chicken legs, and I'm like, yes, feel this sweetness, man. My spirit should be feeling this. So yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't overindulge though. Like when it comes to food and stress, I'm not an extreme case, and I'm really grateful for that. I think generally I have a great appetite. I eat a lot, and even during stressed moments, I don't. It doesn't change as much. So yeah. Do you? I mean, I need to know so that when I'm around you, I just know. Okay, Nabu, these are her needs, nutritional needs. At this moment, she wouldn't want to eat matoke. She would want to eat, I don't know.
I am a Muganda, but matoke depresses me, man. Like, no.
My God. What Ugandan dishes do you like?
I don't know if I have to really be specific with Ugandan dishes, but I'm a rice eater. I'm really
like rice.
I love rice. I mean, I'm going to get a bowl of rice and scoop it with a spoon. I'm like, really? Holy Jesus, this is just so marvelous. I have so many.
How is it that I'm knowing this? How is it that I'm knowing this on a podcast recording?
How are you supposed to know when I was in a country without food? What are you talking about?
Oh my God. What are you? Oh my God. It's actually the only thing that is keeping me here is the love I have for you. That's the only, oh my God.
Kenya doesn't have food. It's just ugali. So when you're talking about the chips and chicken, I know, but I've told you this before. Maybe you might have forgotten. I am a stress eater. Is that a word? But I usually use that word. When I am extremely stressed, I feed, I eat. And when I had, between September and December, I overate, like junk, sweets, cookies, milk, because there's a way how food for me is a coping mechanism. Like I just close out. I close out the world and focus on food. I'm like, this is the deal. And I think the first time this happened, I've been trying to go back to when I might have first seen this. But at that time, I didn't really understand what mental health was. And this is 2016. I I had not even been told that there is such thing as mental health at that time. This is how many years ago? 6 years ago. And I had met this gentleman. No, I can't call him a gentleman. I had met this old man who had talked about calling me up for... Yes.
Excuse me. So gentlemen only have to be young?
No, wait. Wait.
Okay.
You understand why I'm not calling him a gentleman. He had talked about promising me a book sales deal or something like that for his daughter. And I went to meet him and he was calling me his girlfriend or things like that. So I was in shock. We didn't even discuss books. Not at one moment. You know, he was talking about things like, I'm going to give you a good life. I'm like, wait, what? What is happening? Now in my mind, I'm in shock. I'm like, this is a man who can also be my father. Like I think he looked like a 60-year-old or something. And he's telling the waitress, no, don't ask me what I want. Ask my girlfriend. I'm like, wait, dude, I just got to know you last week. So with the shock, exactly, with the shock and not knowing even what to do. And it's crazy. You know, he had mentioned things like, you are strong. And I had heard this word over and over in my life. It was part of me. But with him, it was the second time I was hearing strong from a perspective of someone who is going to abuse me. The first time I heard it was in a relationship that was emotionally abusive. The guy then would be like, no, she's strong. She can't be hurt by that, you know? And I also believed I was strong, but I was actually in denial of what I feel. So this person coming up, this old man coming up and saying things like, you are strong. I can tell you are strong. And then he's calling girlfriend. I'm like, okay, what's happening? How did we switch? When are we talking about the books? So when the food came, I can't tell you that I remembered anything he said. I don't know. I was just focused. I closed my ears and I was like, I am eating. I don't know what's happening here, but I am eating. So I don't know if I was doing that before, but that's one day that I really remember back then. And coming forward, sometimes when I have to edit an episode and I am extremely stressed, I want to be eating cookies. I want to be feeding. I feed on junk. There is a time in 2000, could it have been 2021? 2020 maybe. COVID-19 and then 20. Yeah, 2020, I experienced a major crisis that made me suicidal again. And I was feeling so down. I was coming from work and I was like, do I really have to leave? And then I remembered my foundation. I was like, oh my goodness, I've not really stabilized the foundation. I can't jump ship right now. So what do? Can we first fix the foundation and then probably at some point we can jump? So in that moment, I went to, we call it Kafunda. That's like a local restaurant in the home area because I was coming from work. I just went there, got my chips, and there's a guy who wanted to say hi. I was like, no, I'm not listening to anything. I am eating. Don't talk to me.
Not today.
Don't
Satan,
talk to me.
Not today.
But I've noticed that I need to watch that because I have gained a lot of weight. I've gained a lot of weight. So I'm going back to, I'm back to the gym. Let me see your face. I'm back to the gym. I'm back to the gym to get all this weight off. I've even noticed while in the gym, I no longer have the stamina, the great stamina that I had with my feet. So yeah, my legs.
just carry men. You're going to lose weight really fast. All those Masebos in Kampala, you just go and date them. You're going to be fine in no time. I promise.
So we have the third one. How unhealthy relationships affect our mental health. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yes, I have. Actually, even in my previous relationship, I can say there was a lot of gaslighting that was going on, and I felt my partner, as amazing as a person they are, was not straightforwardly honest with me about very pertinent issues which would keep popping up in the relationship, and something that would see happening, and then she would make me feel like I've seen my own things, like they were not true. And I really started second guessing myself a lot, even outside the relationships. Like, am I good enough? Am I crazy? But you see, that wouldn't even be seen outside because I'm still Onyango, I'm still Rick, I'm still doing this work, and I'm out there like tweeting, and I'm in blogs, and I'm on TV, and I'm in newspapers. But something else was eating me, and only people who are very close to me see that. Yeah. And so, yeah, it really affected my mental health in a big way. And that is in terms of romance. The other unhealthy relationship is between parent and child that I've experienced. I'm not close to my father. I talk about this. And I talk about this vocally because many children who are abused by their parents are blackmailed by this culture, by this society, to keep quiet with their pain just because this is a parent. And I don't advocate for that because in real life, if we are friends now and I keep doing things to you that I know hurt you or you've expressed to me that they hurt you, but I keep repeating, you won't have me near you. You're going to be, you keep up boundaries.
Yeah.
But then now, because it's a parent, oh, no, forgive, and no, a good child, oh, come. And so I meet so many people who struggle with that. And of course, even for me, it's scary to think that I am putting boundaries away from my father. But the peace of mind I have right now is celestial. Like, it belongs to the birds, you know? Oh, yes. And I think I just live, like, right now, move through life with some kind of internal assurance that things will be fine, I'll be fine. Because previously I'd worry, like, oh, what if something happens to me and then I need my family like that? And now I don't want to beg him for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to find myself in that situation. And then somebody else, because I put this out there, and somebody else told me that, so funny. Some random person, she told me that I'm gonna be okay. That even her, she used to worry when she had to cut off her father, but things are turning out okay, and life is going on. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean, today, even if I have to marry somebody's daughter, I have so many people who can represent me as my dad, who will be willing to support me like that. And even if I die today, for me, I am not attached to burial customs like that. Like, yo, it has to be in this land and somebody says, I'm dead, for God's sake, I'm gone. You know, where my spirit will be moving to is more important to me than where my body will be buried. So if they want to do it in a cemetery, that's upon them. If they want to put me up somewhere in that ancestral land, that's upon them. But I'm okay. I'm content with where I am and where I'm going. So yes, unhealthy relationships do directly affect our mental health. Growing up in an abusive home, that was me all my life until I moved out at 26. It followed me for another 8 years or so until last year when my therapist told me, you need to let your parents go. You can't solve their mess. And at the same time, that's the same time when I was leaving my former relationships as well. So It was double pain, very heavy, but it was time because all these things were making me hold back from living a true life. So today, I feel so free, girl. I feel so free. Like, I am me.
Yeah.
I can live my life. Oh my God. I can wake up and not have anxiety about
Mm,
somebody
mm,
who is
mm,
playing
mm,
things.
mm, mm,
Oh my God. I can eat my food joyfully. I'm like, I don't owe anybody anything.
yeah.
I can be myself anywhere. I can just, even right now, I can just leave here and go to the restaurant and just have fries. As in, just joy. You know, I can just dance in my house with my towel and bare chest and just be happy,
Yeah.
and sleep whatever time I want. Oh my God. Oh, the joy. oh, I actually want to cry. The joy that I'm feeling.
Right.
I feel free. I don't have to worry about what my father is doing to my mom. Oh, now, blah, blah, blah. I actually told my brother when he came here when I was nursing my heartbeat last year. So, if you want firstborn birthright, man, I can give them to you. Because this load, I'm tired of it. It needs to get off my shoulder. If you want those firstborn, Africa is a really complicated part with this firstborn, this birthright thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, from here, I want to live as Rick. I want to live as Onyango, not a firstborn son. Okay, I can be a big brother. That's what I'm choosing because I really love my siblings. Okay, but even them, they don't hinder me from living my authentic life. So I write about sex, and my siblings see and they read and they laugh about it, and they're like, "That guy just just let it." Nobody comes together like, oh, you see, now you're not supposed to be saying these things, you're a respectable man in the society. I'm like, fuck that shit. Read it. Okay. I am going to live my life to the fullest, feel to the fullest, dance to the fullest, because I am regaining what was stolen from me, and that is peace of mind.
Peace of mind. How many months are we celebrating since you gained this kind of freedom?
Well, 5 now because it started in January. December was horrendous, and I think January was now the spillover, and I just was struggling through February. Still made some mistakes in there, but I have since learned how to forgive myself and not to take things so seriously. Like, not everybody will like you at the end of the day. And what I came to realize now, there are people you're going to hurt when you're in your lowest vibration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you can be so honest about your apology. You can be so honest about it because really you were really low, and there are some things you even promised that you thought you could deliver, but you just couldn't. And they still wouldn't feel like that is enough. And you know what? It is fine. It is fine. We don't have to be forgiven by everybody. So what I do, because I recognize that there are people that I hurt when I was in my lowest vibration and struggling with my emotions, I was really honest. Some of them felt it's just because I'm very good with words, so it's easy for these things to come out of my mouth, which makes life very difficult for me.
You're a poet, so you can come up with anything.
Those are the disadvantages, because now like I'm really just being honest. Somebody's like, now it's just words.
You can just decide and be in character. Like, okay, now this is Rick the poet.
That's very different. My life is tough when it comes to that, because sometimes you're also like you're dehumanized that way, because it's assumed that you'll always be in character. Now they're like, so who is this person, and then who is the character? I'm like, this is me now, you see, and that's why actually I have just come to realize if I ever pretend, then somebody will have an idealized character in their mind, and then the real me will still be hidden elsewhere.
Yeah.
So why not just show up as me so that they see this person straight up from the beginning? You know, it makes life really easy. Um, and so these days I say, I'm not going to be emotionally available for this thing, for this work, for this friendship, this whatever. And where I can, I also say, where what I want, I also say. If there is a no that I'll be given, that's cool. There's another yes around the bend. Around the corner, there's another yes wait. You know? So that's 5 months in, and I'm really grateful for keeping on pressing on. I actually realized the number of people, like my work and writing, for example, support virtually in their silent homes, silent bedrooms. And as a human race, we are actually struggling with so much that you never see, or like in people physically, you will never see it. You know, if I see you, very nice, face there, you're beautiful, you're smart, you come to a studio, you're recording. But I don't know what's keeping you up at night. I don't know that. I can't tell with your smile. I really can't. You know, but then you'll go to your bed and then you will watch something on TikTok and cry to death because it speaks to you, you know? And those are the kind of experiences I really have with people coming to my Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and reading something like, oh my God, this is me right now. You don't know how important this message is for my life and blah, blah, blah. And so in as much as, I appreciate there are people following it, I do it for me first. It's never a performance to show up in certain ways. Whatever I put out there, I have done the self work first. So now it's easier to just project to the universe, and I'm really grateful.
Right. Did you send me a message or something?
Me? Send you a message?
Yeah, let me see. Okay.
I've been talking to you the whole time. What do you mean?
Okay. I thought you had. So on my end, yes, I have struggled with that.
Send you a message. Do you want me to send you a message?
No. You're always escalating stuff. My goodness. It's just a question. You just say no. Don't do a follow-up.
Life is an escalation. Baby girl, life is an escalation.
Well, on my end, when the relationship that I talked about that was emotionally abusive, that was the first time I got to understand why people actually die by suicide. That is something I used to hear it, and I was like, how does someone kill themselves? What kind of strength do they have? And while I broke down and I was on my knees and I could not even get to the depth of the pain, I could not even massage it out of my body. That's when I was like, so this is how people die, because it felt in that moment, it felt like, I think if I die, I will not feel this pain. So that was my very first time. That's like 2014. That was the first time I was like, okay, I understand why people die by suicide.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we have number 4, extreme feelings of guilt or worries or fears.
Brought about by what? As a coping mechanism, or?
Brought about as an aftermath of a crisis that you might have, experienced, or overthinking stuff, maybe anxiety in a way.
So, this is something you don't know about me. I used to worry so much. About things that were not going right, because growing up feeling very helpless at home, like nothing was ever going to change. It felt like nothing was ever going to change. There was a very huge helplessness around my life. And sometimes I equate what life at home was with how our governments are operated. It always feels like there is nothing that will change. But then as I grew older, and you see now you transfer that, because that's what you grew up with, so much anxiety all the time. You're worried about your safety. You're worried about your own well-being. when something really small happens, it really triggers you, and then you lose control of your emotions. And I'd be that guy even in relationships and even at work. Like I was always worried, triggered, very easily triggered, and that means because my emotional immune system was weak, right? I wasn't as resilient, and that all of it comes from the depression, the PTSD, the anxiety, all of it, all those cousins were together. So in time, as I learned to be myself and doing the healing work, slowly by slowly, I started worrying less about things I couldn't control. It's really easy to say, do not worry about things you can't control. So easy to say it. But if you're coming from a background where everything was happening outside your control, it messes up your system physically, actually, because your nervous system does not know how safety looks like. And that affects your immune system. That affects your brain. That affects the messagings in your mind about who you are and what you can do. And when you are safe and when you're not safe, it affects every single thing.
Yeah.
So then I came to learn that things just turn out okay in time. You just need to relax. But it's a difficult skill. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's a very difficult skill. So it's something that we have to like keep practicing over and over to not feel guilty when we say no, to things that don't speak to us or don't align with who we are. To also attempt saying yes to things that would possibly bring us more life, because many times also we are afraid to get out, to venture out and stuff like that. And I'm learning that as well. To say yes to things, say yes to things, say yes, open up, just say yes, open up, see what happens. So much magic that has happened to me in the last 5 months, Nabu, you wouldn't believe it. We probably, I don't know, should I come to Kampala or do you want to come over? And we have so many things to talk about.
Come to Kampala. We're waiting for you. I think even the women in Kampala are looking for you. So come and grace them with your beauty.
I have enough stamina to take care of everybody. So anyway, yes. So much magic has been happening to me, but from me saying yes to things that previously I was afraid to say yes to, and it's been magical. So indeed, our mental health is affected by our surroundings, and it therefore leads to this kind of mannerisms of being anxious and feeling guilty from many situations that we do not have control over. And the one thing that has been powerful for me is that it is possible for me to take charge of my life. That other people don't have to decide how I feel and how I live my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was always worried because I always gave love or so much authority, so much that if somebody showed me love, I gave them so much power that they could control how I felt. They could decide who I was in particular times, but it's no longer there now. It's not there. Right now, I am just me.
Yeah.
I am just Rick. I decide when I want to laugh, if something is worth my tears. I decide how much money. These days I'm just chilling in town after a long day and I'm like, today I don't feel like sitting in a taxi. I don't feel like sitting in a matatu. I'm going to take a cab home. Ikonini, what is it? And I call little cab, you come and pick me. Yeah. I need to go home. Yeah. And I stopped worrying about where money is going to come from, because money keeps coming for this kind of thing.
That's right.
So I'm like, you be comfortable. Money is going to come, and it keeps coming. It does keep coming. So I've been also putting my comfort at the forefront.
Right, right.
In fact,
right.
even this time when you come to Nairobi, I'll pick you personally. Personally, my Ugandan my Ugandan teacher used to say personally, I'll come and pick you. Personally, yeah, bro. Comfort. It's possible for us to take charge of our life, to
Yeah,
be in charge of our life, of our emotions, of what we decide to consume and not consume.
right.
It's possible because what happens with oppression and violence is if we grow up in those systems, they get soaked into our bodies and our minds. So it's almost like we're always waiting for the other side to act right. So even today, we are still begging white people to treat us like human beings.
That's right.
We are still begging our government to treat us like human beings.
Mm.
And we actually like it's just state machinery is one of the most craziest things that anybody has access to oppress other people.
Mm.
And I'm like, how did we get here, my Lord? How did we get here? And you see, majority of the people, we are more, but now we still live in fear because a few of us definitely are going to be shot. Do you know there was a situation in Kampala, and these police people, they were like in the streets just shooting. And one time I remember particularly there was this lady who was on top of a building and she was recording these officers walking down the street. And this guy just shot up at her at the window.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw that.
I did. That was the pre-election period. It was the pre-election period.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just a miracle that bullet just passed her, and I think it went to some wall or something. She would have just died there and gone, and that guy would have just walked on and just lived his. Oh my God!
Yeah.
So there's so much state violence that we are exposed to that has just killed our spirit. Just drain it all. So we are just. I remember I saw a tweet because I follow East African. I follow African politics much, and because you're a Ugandan now, I can say this.
Yeah.
Somebody put out a tweet about how SCJ is on the street fighting for Ugandan people's rights, and how come Ugandans don't go out to protest with him, and of course people are engaging him and they are telling him, every day Ugandans are actually surviving for their day-to-day meals. There's barely time to get out to protest, and that is also quite intentional systematically.
Yeah.
Because somebody like BCJ, of course, he does have his resources. He can be bailed out. He can get out of jail with so much money as bail. He will be harassed for sure, but he'll have medical care to take him to hospital and being nursed and bandaged and everything. So the way that system is set up, it's almost like only a few of us have access to these things. Even those few who want things to be better, they're the only ones with access to good stuff. But the majority of us feel very defeated. So now how that translates to our day-to-day, even in our relationships, we just feel like nothing can work.
Right.
In work, in the work economy, we feel like the workplace cannot be healthy. So I can just stay at this bad, toxic workplace just because work is barely available. That's how it drains every single sector of our lives. And that is the biggest tragedy that we are having to deal with today, because it's not any different in Kenya, not any different in Tanzania, different in South Africa. And these are the things we must talk about. But you see, we have to come back home to ourselves. And this information is what people don't have. And I guess this is why episodes like this are really important, so that people really understand.
You've really touched on something that I felt like the topics were so many, but there's a way how you brought it up, the politics or state of affairs in a nation. I think that's one of the things that we don't really come to understand, that it does also affect our mental health. There were statistics that were shared, I don't remember the date, but the New Vision here in Uganda shared that there are 14 million Ugandans who are mentally sick. And people were making fun of it. And in my head, I'm like, we are all sick. There is no way you can tell me that, excuse me, there's no way you can tell me that out of the 42 million Ugandans, as per the estimation of the general number of Ugandans in the state, you can't tell me that out of the 42, it's only 14. There are very many chances that the 14 million are the ones who are actually seeking help, so it's, and then you're seeing tweets like, oh my God, Uganda is scary. We have 14 million people who are mad. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Right.
Indeed, because again, we are very misinformed on the topics of mental health and their complexities. So even the way to be reported and the way to be interpreted. So there's both issues, like the reporting and the interpretation. You know, the way the reporting on mental health is still in our newsrooms leaves a lot to be desired, and then the way our people interpret this thing also leaves a lot to be desired. So it is just misinformation upon misinformation, which adds on to the stigma of mental health conditions. But let nobody ever think that they are healthy just because they survive in a sick society.
Oh my God, that part.
Don't think now you're okay just because, Rick's depression is more visible. So now you think you're fine, you think you're safe. So we have to, and you see, the weakness we are having as a populace is that we don't know how to interconnect these issues.
Right.
We don't know how to interconnect them. So they're very much every day-to-day life, In Kampala, for example, if you fear getting on a border, I think they're called safe borders. If you fear being on a safe border, that's a political issue. Yeah? Because why are they unsafe? Why? Why is transport unsafe for you? Why can't you have security to know that there are certain places in the city you can go and nobody will mug you? Why is it that you fear? Why is it there? Then you are also sick. You're sick. You're not safe.
Yeah.
You're not sane either, right? So we have to keep talking about these things and helping people interconnect these issues. That's the only way, because, oh man, we are so far behind in this education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are just going to go to the next one. Problem sleeping. Is this something that you struggled with at one point?
Sorry?
Problems sleeping?
Sometimes, yes. But how it has worked for me is when I'm stressed, I would sleep more. See, there's also the other extreme, which was helping me a lot in my childhood, in my teenage years, because, oh my God, I was going through so much pain. So the sleep would help the pain disappear for a while. And then I go, and sometimes you really don't want to wake up, but you also don't want to die. So sleep would help me a lot. And how I would counter that is by listening to music. So if you notice, I am always walking with my headphones everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I have my headphones. And it's because music really has helped me cope through hard times. So those years when I would sleep and I would sleep with my earphones. So listen to music at night while I'm sleeping.
They wouldn't get spoiled?
That's how I'd cope, because they would a lot of times. Because even the earphones, we were buying those years, or those fake Sony earphones, they would get spoiled all the time. And those years we had no wireless earphones, no wireless headphones like we do today. So they would get spoiled all the time. But you go, they were cheap, so just go and buy some and come back to it again. because I didn't want to hear what my parents were arguing about, and it's just noise all the time. So sleep and music at night would help me do that. But sometimes even when you're anxious and stressed, when I'm anxious and stressed up, sleep just disappears from my eyes, and I just stay up almost all night. It's been a while though since that happened. The last time anything similar happened was in October, when I was going through those two heartbreaks with my family situation and my relationship. It's not been here. These days I sleep like a crocodile. I just go. I sleep like a lizard. I go. Yeah. I die every night. I die every night. Actually, it's been such a long. I can't. In fact, right now, stress is almost like a stranger to me. Yeah. Stress that makes me not eat or not sleep is like a stranger to me. It's been a while, and that doesn't mean I don't have difficult situations with people. I do, but I don't allow it to simmer in like I used to before. And thank God for growth, because I feel like the people who are meeting me right now are meeting like Onyango Pro Max. It's like it's like I am. Jeez, and I love this about me because I have so much life to give, and I am so much better. I love what I'm doing with myself. I'm so much better, and this is what I've always wanted to have. And it just takes me back to my childhood when, before everything got spoiled, I was just a happy kid.
Yeah,
that's all children want to be. They just want to be happy, and healthy and fantastic, and that's what I'm feeling right now. So I don't know if you've experienced sleeplessness during crazy times.
Well, I can't. I'm only going to speak about the period in November. It was really tight for me. October and November were a mess. There were so many things I had to deal with, and I had a foundation event coming up. I hadn't prepared because there were some other things I was already handling, and I just didn't have enough time. 24 hours were not enough for me. So I couldn't cancel the event either, and I didn't have the funds. So every time I would go to sleep, a voice would whisper, "Do you know that you don't have the money?" Hey, I'd wake up. But I'm not even asking.
How do you call money in Uganda?
Sente. I need to in sente.
Sente. Hey.
So I'd wake up and then probably force myself like, no, sleep. And then close my eyes for 15 minutes and then I'm awake. Now that's when I realized that, okay, this is out of hand. It only happened for one night, but the stress had been building up for a bit, like 2 months or 3. So I was like, okay, now this is out of hand. If I've gotten to a level of I cannot sleep, then we need to get out of this phase, take myself with grace, love myself, and figure out how to find a solution, because it wasn't even helping. I wasn't finding help, and yet I was beating myself up. You don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have this, and yet I'm sleepless as well. So I was like, let's find a solution and rest. So what I did, I went to church because it was a Sunday. It was a Saturday coming to Sunday. I went to church and cried to Jesus. I was like, yo, this is too much. I can't manage. I wept, and suddenly I felt like I can talk. I think half of the weight had been lifted. But still, I feel like God has a way of showing off, because after me crying and, saying, but why? People suddenly started reaching out. Even those that I hadn't talked to in months were like, yo, you're silent. You have changed. What is it? And I was like, okay. So I started talking and it helped. I made a call for people to come through for the event. And in 4 days, I had the funds to run the event, and the event was a success. So surely. We need to be fast so that you jump into what you have to be doing. You've shared about your experience with rep. And there is also information. The very first time I had something related to sex drive, or the sexual health and mental health was in 2020 when I attended a survivors of rep. I don't know, should I call it a conference, a group? People were having conversations and they were sharing. And I was seated next to a girl who whispered to me. She asked, she was like, do you think when someone is raped, they can become promiscuous after? And I had never heard of that question, but then I kept quiet and I was like, okay, it is actually possible because in that moment of rape, you don't have charge of your body. And when you come out of it, you want to take charge of your body and end up feeling like, okay, now here's me. And I also feel like it's some sort of protective something whereby you're like, okay, how about I just give myself instead of being raped? So this is how I internalized it. And I was like, it is possible. But I don't know. Is it something that you think really happens? Is it something that you've heard of? That when someone is raped, they turn to promiscuity as a coping mechanism?
I want to look for the meaning of this word promiscuous.
Promiscuous. You're trying to search.
Having or characterized by many transient sexual relationships involving many sexual partners. Cool. Yes, that's possible. It happened to me. Kampala was very generous to me those years. I actually miss Kampala.
You miss the generosity or you miss the city?
The food, the generosity of the food. You just get into a restaurant and they just serve you all these things. That's what I'm talking about now.
Okay.
Thank you. I always trust that you're an intelligent, smart person. You get me. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, my headphones have died.
My laptop is also about to die. Let me say 29 minutes.
It's possible that would happen to you. So it's just called hypersexuality. You tend to head towards that direction of what was used to abuse you. It's almost kind of like not very similar, but not very far away from how bullying operates. So you find that many children who are bullied, who bullied other people, were also bullied at home. Many people who are violent towards others, people are also violent towards them.
Yeah.
So it's just same psychology. This happens to you, so you just project it to other people, right? Because deeper you're looking to get your power back, but it's so subconscious. You don't get it. You don't see it. It's very subconscious. Now, it's a trauma response, and it is just your body keeping you together.
Yeah.
So for some people, they completely deviate away from having sex at all. They just don't at all. And others go to the other extreme of having it.
Yeah.
So it's some people actually have called hypersexuality a disease. Even though it doesn't have like a medical diagnosis that you say, so this is how you treat this ABCD, but it's a disorder, so it's called hypersexual disorder, hypersexuality disorder.
Yeah.
But I'm usually very careful to use the word disorder many times because this is a response. It's not a disorder. It's a response to something. Even PTSD, I like calling it post-traumatic stress response. You're responding to a traumatic event that happened to you. It's not a disorder. That makes the disease about you. No.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have heard of it. I've gone through it, and there's a book. Let me show it to you.
At the end of last month, we launched an online store for all of us to be able to access our podcast merchandise. The podcast is run on a freemium model, and that means that I do not charge you at all to have access to the podcast conversations. But because I have a few running costs and the goal to acquire a podcast studio, you can support the podcast by purchasing one or even all the merchandise available. Check out the show notes for the link to the store, and if your podcast does not show you the hyperlink, check out our social media pages for the link to the store. Let's get back into the conversation.
But there's a book. It's titled "The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog."
Oh.
So this book is like stories from a child psychiatrist, and they're saying here what traumatized children can teach us about loss, love, and healing. In one of the stories here, there was a 9-year-old who had been sexually assaulted, but nobody knew.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to want to have sex with adults at 9 years. Yeah. And she didn't know that. She didn't know nobody knew it was a trauma response. So this general society, when it looks at you, thinks, this girl is promiscuous, something's wrong with her.
Spoiled.
There are also many people who are doing sex work who it's not like something of their choosing or because they can't do any other thing. It's just the trauma response that's taking them there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But we don't have information about these things as a society.
We sure don't.
And this is why this education is very important.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing time with yourself. The very last one was substance abuse, but I think that is very common, and I would like to invite the listeners to go and look it up because Onyango has other things to do. We have to release him so that he can go and do whatever he has to do. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And we'll look forward to learning more from you, Onyango. Thank you for the work that you do for us as Africa, especially for the men, African men, Afro-masculinity. Yeah. He coined that word. Poets.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Always a fab time to be on the hashtag with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. You know, so proud of you, so proud of the work you're doing there. Now that you want to lose weight and there is no food in Kenya, why don't you come? That is a sure bet.
Congratulations. Yeah. I didn't expect that.
These words are just coming around back to you. Oh, no food in Kenya. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You come because you want to
money.
lose weight.
I need a job. You first get me a job. I need a job.
Janguano. You're fine. Today you can work remotely. COVID did that for you. So, I mean.
Okay. Onyango, allow me to release you and let me also close this episode. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Talk soon. I'll look for you later.
Sure. There are two ways in which we cope with moments when our mental health is compromised. The maladaptive ways sink us deeper in turmoil, while the adaptive ones help us thrive in life. So, which one are you relying on? Which one do you want to move forward with? You need to choose the adaptive coping mechanisms. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Hashtime with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. If you love what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Hashtime with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka in your podcast platform of choice and share it with your friends, loved ones, and every other person who is affected by the millennial world around us. Also, feel free to share your insights about what connected with you on social media and be sure to tag us. We are at Hashtime with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter, our handle is at HTNK Podcast. You can also reach us on our email, htnkpodcast@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. We have come to the end of the month, and my prayer for you is that you thrive above your maladaptive coping mechanisms. Take care.